discover savory baby back ribs, char-grilled chicken, Creekstone tri-tip, variety of sausages, and other delicious items. So make it a hot and saucy weekend with Surf Market Barbecue.
Good morning and welcome to Peggy's Place and KGUA in Wallala 88.3 FM. I'm your host today, Lindsey. I am a video and film and audio producer and a host here at KGUA, managing a lot of the station throughout the day to bring you the shows that this community radio station is famous for. And this morning, I do have a very special guest lined up that we'll get to in just a moment after I read off the events, but it's from inland Ukiah area of Mendocino County. Joining us on Zoom today will be Lydia Colvig, and she has an amazing background. She is co-president of the Seabiscuit Therapeutic Writing Center. She is a teacher. We're going to get into a lot of this in a few minutes, and we'll give you more on her background. But for right now, let me just acknowledge too, at the end of Democracy Now!, you just heard about the passing of Senator Dianne Feinstein. And I remember living in San Francisco in the mid 80s to the early 90s when she was mayor during part of that time. And we're all sad to see her passing. So I just wanted to acknowledge that. And also on another topic, acknowledge Surf Market and their big barbecue out there is going to be going all today and tomorrow for the weekend. I just ran into Josh and they are really stoking that grill up to bring you some of the best barbecue baby back ribs and chicken over the weekend. It is 61 degrees outside under partly sunny skies here on the Northern California coast of both Mendocino County, which is the southern part of Mendocino County, and the northern part of Sonoma County. But we do cover all of both counties. So coming to us soon is going to be a woman from Ukiah who's going to be talking to us. First, it is the weekend of both the Pay and Take and Farmers Market. That's tomorrow morning, 9 to 12 for the Pay and Take and 9:30 to 12:30 for Farmers Market. And there's Farmers Market up in Point Arena today as well. And up in Mendocino, they have Ripcord, a play that is going this weekend at the Mendocino Theater Company. On Little Lake Road. You can look at mendocinotheater.org for more information. Of course, we have our own theater going here in the Sea Ranch, and that's the Sea Ranch Thespians. I went last night at 4:00. It starts sharp. Get there at least, like a half hour before so you can park and get seated. And then everything starts right at 4:00. But 4 women do a stellar job in one of Norm Foster's plays called Ladies Foursome, about a game of golf, 18 rounds, and they base it on the updated Sea Ranch photos that they will show during the play. So that's happening at the White Barn. You can contact Carol Emery for more information at emery.mcn.org or call them at 785-2548, because even though it's free, you do need to sign up because seating is limited. And then they will also make sure you get a parking pass if you're from outside the Sea Ranch. Sea Ranch. I was just looking at Shindig coming up. I had both S's in my mind. Shindig Social Club on Friday tonight. It's live music night featuring Tim Merler and Giancarlo on electric guitar and violin. Food and drink will be available 6 to 8 p.m. and that's off Annapolis Road in the Sea Ranch. For more information, contact shindig.searanch@gmail.com or 707-791-0735. That's 791-0735. And then also we have at Mill Bend Saturday, learn more about the native plants that live here at Mill Bend Preserve and their role in providing healthy habitat for beneficial insects, butterflies, birds, and other wildlife. That's at 10 o'clock on Saturday. you look up the calendar at rclc.org for more information. And then there is up in Point Arena, the full harvest, or the almost full harvest moon lighthouse tour at the Point Arena Lighthouse. You can climb to the tallest lighthouse on the Pacific coast under a full moon, get champagne, sparkling juice, sweet savory snacks. And that tour starts at 7:30. The gates open at 7:30. The tour starts at 8 o'clock. And then we also have tickets now on sale for the Arena Theater Pizza Party fundraiser at Oz Farm. It's a second annual autumnal pizza party, and that's Tuesday, October the 25th from 4 to 7 p.m. So contact Oz Farm for more information, or Arena Theater, arenatheater.org, and you can find out all about that wonderful party and what it will cost. And then Jazz in 3 is to perform at the Sea Ranch Lodge twice in October, on October 12th and again on the 26th. That will be in the Fireside Lounge in the Sea Ranch Lodge with our great Harrison Goldberg and friends, who present Goldberg's Jazz Trio, Jazz in 3. Oh, there is one big announcement to make for sure. It's something I worked on yesterday to make sure I got an animated video produced to promote this event, but it is a joint effort with KGUA and Mindanao Whale and Seal Study. Every year we put on the Ocean Life Symposium, and Scott and Tree Mercer from Mindanao Whale and Seal Study work so hard to bring the best speakers to us from around the country. And we have from Orca Network, we've got Howard Garrett, Moss Landing Marine Lab, we've got Jack Markowski, we've got from Wells National Estuarine Research Reserve, Laura Crane, we've got the American Cetacean Society showing up as well, and more. That will start at 9 o'clock Friday, October the 6th, live here at KGUA, on air at 88.3 FM, online at kgua.org, and on YouTube. So that's 9 o'clock to 3 o'clock, October 6th, next Friday. And I'm Lindsey. It's good to talk to you today because I've got the co-president of the Seabiscuit Therapeutic Writing Center, a big part of the focus of my documentary that's really getting close to being concluded in this next spring. We're working hard on that with several film shoots. Lydia was raised in Willits. She graduated college with honors in sociology with religion. And afterwards, she lived in Larch, Washington, D.C., where she shared the life among adults with disabilities for several years. And then she got a master's degree in special ed at Johns Hopkins University. She taught elementary in a non-public school system and then an adult transition program. I've talked to some of the parents about that too, getting their older adult children into the transition program. She returned to California in 2017 to teach at Ukiah High School and transitioned to the role of coordinator of special ed for Ukiah Unified School District. And she's been serving as a director of special ed since 2022 during the pandemic. Oh my goodness, Lydia, we've got a lot to talk about that. She's friends with the director of the Seabiscuit Therapeutic Writing Center, and that's Aaron Livingston Holzhauer, who has been doing this with Lydia since they were both in 4-H back in the 90s. And she's currently serving as the co-president, but she did join the board back in 2017. She's a stepmom, dog mom, and a lover of all animals. Good morning, Lydia, and welcome to the show.
Good morning. I'm so glad to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
And you look like you're talking to us from your office today.
Yes. Yeah, I'm in my office here in Ukiah at the district office. So
give us a bit more about, let's go back to the beginning with you and Aaron as little girls. Give us a look into that life and how you guys started this whole program. Let's talk first about the therapy program. We'll talk about your teaching, but I just really wanted to get everybody to understand how long this program has been going.
Yeah, so the program began in 1993, which, is 30 years ago. And Aaron and we met through 4-H and Willits 4-H. And I guess we've probably been friends since we were both probably 5 years old. And I spent a huge amount of my childhood down at Ridgewood Ranch, with sleepovers with Aaron, playing around. And then Aaron has always really loved horses. And I remember she had this dream of starting a therapeutic riding center. And she, through 4-H, like this program started as a 4-H project. And Ridgewood Ranch was so supportive of it, and giving us the space. And then the program at the time was called TRAIL, which is an acronym. I think if I remember correctly, it stands for teaching writing as an access to independence and learning. And I might have gotten a few things wrong, but yeah, it was just, for me, I'm actually not, I don't own horses. I've probably ridden a horse like a handful of times, but the program and the vision of helping people with disabilities was super appealing to me, and was this safe place that, as someone who's a bit of a perfectionist, and it helped me slow down and helped me see that we all have really unique values, despite what we do, that we have this intrinsic worth, and gifts and unique gifts. So for me, Aaron's vision in starting the program was really special, and obviously shaped kind of my career path. When I look back, at the time I didn't realize where it was all leading me. So it was really special.
Yes, little do we see those threads in the fabric of our lives, right?
Yes.
And Erin, I love one of the things that she does say quite often, along the lines of what you were just saying, is that working with these children and adults too with the special needs and other disabilities, is that you all set them up for success through this program. And that's what brings about a great deal of the positive change.
Right. You see, I mean, for me, like even at that time, I saw how much it improved students or clients, their concentration, their confidence, decision making, problem solving. You're sitting on this really large animal and you're having to be a leader. So it's really amazing to witness and see students that struggle with those skills, and after many months of coming to the program, you see so much improvement in their confidence and their judgment, and their decision making, beyond all of the physical benefits too.
Yes, a number of them are nonverbal, and well, horses are nonverbal,
right?
And a mother was telling me how much she could relate to horses because she'd been working with her own child over all these years through verbal cues.
Right.
So it made a big difference to her to see how they connected, and
right.
she could see it with the horse and with her son. This is the woman that was talking to me. Yeah. So you guys from the very beginning had about, how many horses did you start out with, and what was the program like at that time?
I mean, I want to say that we probably, and I'm not sure if I'll have all the details right, but I think we just had a few horses starting out with, that I remember. And, now we have 8. We have a donkey, we have a pony, and then we have, 6 other horses, and some of them are getting older. So we are, looking at that retirement for some of them, and looking at acquiring additional horses for our program. And I wanted to say before, with students who are nonverbal, I always like to say that nonverbal doesn't mean they're non-thinking, right? So we know that with horses or animals, there's so much that you can say through your body language, and so, teaching students to communicate through picture support, through a voice output device, all of those pieces, we know that everyone has unique and valuable things to say, however that's communicated.
I'm really glad that you brought that up, because yes, we have to remember they are thinking. They're humans and thinking animals.
Mhm.
In fact, the next film shoot that we're going to go on is in Central California. And one of the interviewees is actually studying the brains of horses. And he's working with horse expert Mark Rashid. And he's the focal point of the interview, talking about how he works with horses in a passive leadership way and kind of mirroring, in ways that Tom Smith may have worked with Seabiscuit back in the day when they first got Seabiscuit and changed up his entire approach to being handled and worked with, because Tom Smith was really like a natural horseman that we now use that terminology these days, natural horsemanship. And Tom Smith had worked on so many ranches throughout the country, working with horses and training them in a different way than, breaking them. His was a completely transformative way from the gentle approach. So that mirrors really what goes on with these children, the way that they're handled in this program with these horses. It's not in an aggressive way. It is definitely in a nurturing, gentle way. So talk to that a bit and how the current program works and how many people or children you've got in it now.
Sure. I think we have about 70 clients that we're seeing right now. And they're coming from all ages, and they're coming from both Lake County and Mendocino County. So some students come to us through the Redwood Coast Regional Center. Some come through to us through the Redwood Community Services, and then some students their parents have asked for lessons, or we're providing scholarships. So it's kind of a mixture of students. We have all sorts of ages and ranges and unique kind of focuses. So we have some students who have autism that are nonverbal, and for them, we would start out with, we have an equicizer that some lovely folks from Fort Bragg donated to us. And so we would start out with the fake horse, the equicizer, so they can get comfortable. And then we would probably move to Muffin, our sweet little donkey that came to us in 2017 during the Redwood Valley fire. And so they get kind of used to Muffin and walking with Muffin and brushing him. And then we have Dan, our pony. And so again, getting kind of used to this animal, and he's kind of small, so it's a nice intro, and then eventually transitioning to them to the bigger horses.
And for everybody listening out there, this is Lydia Center Colvig. She's the co-president of the Seabiscuit Therapeutic Writing Center, which is a focal point of my documentary, Seabiscuit's Legacy. You can look that up online. My name is Lindsey. I'm a host today, a producer of audio and film, and working with this station to keep it running. We have a big fundraiser I forgot to mention we're going to do next Wednesday to help with getting some new equipment for our audio, which somehow went on the fritz this last week. But that is just something I juggle. I juggle both radio, film, and audio production. And this is KGUA in Wallala, 88.3 FM. We are streaming online live throughout the world at kgua.org. There's a web app that you click listen live at the top of the page. It'll pop up. I helped to produce that with a couple of software companies. So you can listen in from wherever, and you can watch this on YouTube. And Lydia, what I was just about to tell all the listeners is that you've been talking about Dan the pony and the donkey and this program and how it works. Well, I'm going to share a few of the shots that we got from when we were there filming at the end of June with some of these children and some of these animals. So if everybody if you get a chance, go to YouTube, because I'm going to start sharing screen right now so that you can see. We have one of the shots where Dan the pony is in the middle of the camera, and there's just about the young boy's about to get, and his name is Walter. He's about to get on Dan, And then we have the filmmaker who was going around trying to get closer. He's right coming up there, holding a huge camera with a big strapped around his back and held over the top of his head. I'm trying to kind of describe this, Lydia, of how it looks, but it took a lot of people, but he did so great. We've got him with these huge smiles as afterwards, once he started going around with Aaron. And I can't play some of the video because we're saving that for the documentary, but I could at least share some of these videos. And there's Dan with Walter on top. So I'm going to stop share there and let you talk about that a little bit more.
Oh, that's so wonderful. Walter is just seeing his growth, in terms of his comfort with Dan the pony, and just how far he's come in the last few years through Seabiscuit.
I was there like in 2019 doing a film shoot, and I remember being at the arena, and he was so cute. He came in, I think he had a Mickey Mouse shirt on, or no, it was something on his helmet, and he walked into the arena. But that was one day he decided, nope, not today. I'm going to sit down right here on this, step ladder that, what is it called? The step stool to get up on the horse.
Oh, the mounting block.
The mounting block. I use that myself. But he sat down on it that day. He was done.
Yeah. And we have kids start at all places. So we have some students that just getting them to walk into the arena is a huge success. And then, getting the students to get to the mounting block is a huge success. So it's like every little step. And then, getting onto the horse, it might just be, 30 seconds on the horse, but that little success. And then, you fast forward a few years and it's like, you're like, who is that kid? Like, it's amazing.
Yes, I remember one young girl who would, when she came around, put her arms up in the air, and it took her a long time to get to that point where she's riding around on this big horse with her arms up in the air.
Yeah.
And that's part of this.
Knowing that you can let go of the reins and that you're safe and that.
Right. And that's all part of this setting them up for success.
Yeah.
It's little baby steps like you were talking about.
Mm-hmm.
And young Walter, now he's been in the program for about how many years, do you think?
I want to say probably 2 years. Yeah, because he's still pretty young. But
and he's autistic.
I'm not sure what his eligibility is, but yeah, he's wonderful.
Well, I know Cameron is an older boy who's in the film too, with his mom Melody. And if somebody wanted to participate, first I heard you say that there are scholarships available, which is wonderful. You've done some good fundraising. You had a big fundraiser just recently at the beginning of September called Claws for a Good Cause. Every year you have that. That helped to get the big arena cover too, so that you can, use the arena during wet weather or hot weather with the sun beating down. So what are the scholarships? And if people wanted to come from outside the area, do you ever have that happening? Or is it more local children and adults that you have in the program?
Yeah, it's really more local. Most of our students come from Lake and Mendocino County. And then, a lot of our students are referred through Redwood Coast Regional Center. And so that's, I would say, the majority of our students come through that contract we have with them, and we're one of their vendors.
And what do they do for the county?
So Redwood Coast Regional Center is so once a student turns 3, the Redwood Coast Regional Center provides the in-home kind of piece, and then, like in our case here in Ukiah, it would be Ukiah Unified provides the in-school piece. So when a student qualifies for services in the home, there's different, they might qualify for physical therapy, for occupational therapy, they might qualify for behavior services, or, qualify for therapeutic course. So it's a multiple, eligibilities and services that they offer through Redwood Coast Regional Center.
And I really see now the really strong connection you provide, bridging that side to
Right.
the riding center. Even though you don't perhaps ride a horse, you're providing this whole other reach to that side of balance for the family. You know, they're in the therapy program, they're also in school, so that you see both sides.
Right. And it's so important. We're a small, like more rural community, right? So it's so hard being a parent. You know, you have a kind of a vision of how things are going to go. And then you have a student or a child with a special needs. And so your kind of vision for life shifts and changes for that child. And it can be really lonely. And I had just a small little snapshot that I experienced when I was living and working with adults with disabilities in a group home setting. You know, I was sort of the mom, the social worker, all the things. And, that was just for 3 years, but I have a lot of compassion for parents and having this kind of wrap around where we can all work together. And so I meet with Regional Center or talk to them when the parents allow us to release the information and they allow us to work together. It's really amazing what we can do for students and making sure parents feel supported. So yeah, it is neat to tie it all together and to see students, beyond the classroom, beyond, we know that they benefit from all sorts of activities, and when the whole community is working together and supporting, we can really see a lot of progress.
Describe what your workday is like now.
So yeah, my workday, I go to a lot of meetings. We have about over 850 students in Ukiah Unified that have IEPs, and that might be for speech and language. It could be, for a variety of things. So we have well over 100 paraprofessionals. I think somewhere around 50 teachers. We have 8 school psychologists. We have 8 speech pathologists. We have a lot of staff and all of those students that need services. And so it's a huge amount of coordinating, making sure that we're checking in across the district at all the different school sites. So my day can really be different just depending on the day, but starting out at a school site, going to IEP meetings, that's a huge piece. Working with families that are, upset that maybe something happened, they're concerned. And so helping, sitting down with the families, working through kind of being very solution oriented. And that's, I deal with a lot of conflict in my career. Just, maybe teachers are needing extra support, maybe they're feeling frustrated, maybe paraprofessionals are needing more training and support, just making sure that everyone is feeling supported and able to move forward. And it is really funny that I ended up in this role, because as a child, I was very, I did not like conflict or speaking in public, or, all of those things would have made me really uncomfortable and nervous. And through kind of my work with Seabiscuit and just my journey in life, I've kind of ended up in this role where I have to show up in hard situations a lot. And so my work hours are pretty long. I spend a lot of time on the evenings and weekends, just making sure that we're providing the best services that we can. But I love it. I love all of it.
Oh, that is so good to hear, Lydia. You really have had a good foundation to get to the point you are, especially when you had to handle a lot of conflict and challenge during the pandemic. I can imagine how that must have, what a chore and hard it was for you to see families struggle through that entire time. Why don't you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, it was, I had just become an administrator in 2019, and then the pandemic hit, and it was just like, we've never done this before.
Oh,
How are we going to serve students? How are we going to provide services? And it was really hard, and we all had to shift to Zoom and to figure out like what curriculum we're going to use, how are we going to set everything up. We know that students with more significant disabilities, like technology, accessing education through technology can be really challenging. So it's just a lot of problem solving, working with the parents, but also knowing that it was really difficult for the parents too, because especially if you're working, if you have a job and you're trying to also teach your student, so it was so challenging. And I just remember a lot of long days of like, okay, how do we problem solve? And I was so grateful to work for Ukiah Unified during that time. We just have this leadership, from the top down that really like is service driven. Everyone is willing to show up and problem solve. And, sometimes we might make mistakes or we try something, we're like, hey, that's not working, but we keep showing up and trying new things. And so just that modeling from the top down, I think helped us like working with families and slowly bringing back students. So the first students that came back were students with more significant disabilities. And so we're kind of coming back into pods. A lot of my job was like, maybe making home visits, meeting with families, on their front lawns, having them come to campus. It was kind of like whatever we could do and whatever worked for that family or that student, we tried it. So it was such a joy when we all came back to campus. I don't want to ever do that again.
right. That was enough. Let's
That was enough. But we did learn a lot through
right.
that.
Right. And a lot of the parents may not have had the equipment. So
Right. And we provided that. Yeah, they didn't have the equipment. So it was like, we got hotspots out to families. We got Chromebooks to all the students. We trained parents on using the technology. We dropped off I remember dropping off big bins of activities for students that really working on a computer wasn't going to work. So it was just a lot of pivoting and problem solving.
a lot of pivoting, a lot of problem solving, and you came up with solutions.
Yes.
Learned a lot through the process, even though it may have been like, the pressure of pressing carbon into diamonds, but you got the diamond.
Right. And it was just challenging because there was no easy solution to anything in there. Everyone had really different ideas about how it should be. We should all come back, or we should all stay at home. We should, it was so trying to meet people where they were. And, once everyone was able to get vaccinations, that was kind of the big piece of being able to return.
Well, you're listening to Lydia Center Colvig. She is the co-president of the Seabiscuit Therapeutic Writing Center. And as you can see, she's part of the Ukiah High School district. And she was in when you first started in 2017, then you transitioned to the role of coordinator of special ed for the Ukiah United School District since 2022. So we're going into 2024. So you've got a couple of years. It's kind of coming on that under your belt. And we'll get into more in just a moment. I'm Lindsey. This is KGUA in Wallala, 88.3 FM. We are streaming at kgua.org. Just click listen live at the top of the page. We're on YouTube, so you can watch this anytime. It will remain there. And we, again, are talking with Lydia Center Colvig, whose mom also is in Willits, who helped me once put together a nice vacation in Europe on a riverboat, but then that fell through because of the first year of the pandemic, and we rescheduled to 2021, and then we had to reschedule that, and then I finally just canceled it. I'm waiting to go on that though, Lydia.
Me too.
And so you've been in the Willits area for a long time, Willits, Ukiah, and you grew up knowing Aaron Livingston Holzhauer, who's the director of the Seabiscuit Therapeutic Writing Center. and you've seen it change and morph over the years. And what would you say were some of the biggest changes that you saw that program go through?
Yeah, I mean, I was gone for almost 17 years. So when I came back in 2017, it was like, wow, this program is like, it's so much more sustainable. It's like, we have employees, like we have Erin as an employee, and we have Diane as a barn manager, an employee, and
That's
then
Diane Cannon, right?
yeah, and we have,
Cannon, not the actress Diane Cannon.
oh, okay. I didn't realize there was an actress.
I'm showing my age,
Okay.
but she's quite famous. So go ahead.
Yeah. So, and just seeing the facilities, like, we had the covered arena
Yes.
came kind of at that time when I was coming back. And now we have an office space, we have bathrooms, we have a tack room. This year, our project is going to be to the barn to put a new roof on. And so our hay, our precious hay that has become so expensive, so that it doesn't get damaged. So just seeing how much the program has grown, and then how many volunteers we have. We're really our volunteers are amazing, and that's how we are able to reach all the clients that we're able to. So.
Well, once before you mentioned that there was an exerciser, this horse, right? For the
Yes.
kids, it's brand new.
It's
And
brand new.
when we were filming, we got some shots of the kids getting on this, and I want to share that since we are on YouTube. I can share my screen so that people can see this, but you'll see the exerciser, and also you're going to see one of the young girls, Madeline, and she's there with now the director of our documentary, and that is, her name is Nadia Jordan. She's holding Madeline in this scene, and there's Erin, who's kneeled down in front of her. She's just a little tiny thing, 5 years old, has spina bifida, and the cameraman's right there in front of her with that big equipment arching over his head and big camera he's holding there. And then we have a sound engineer with an enormous mic, but you can see that little exerciser right there that she's just about to get on.
Yeah.
And where did you get that exerciser again?
We just, our friends from Fort Bragg from the coast donated it, I think right around the time that you were filming your documentary. I'm pretty sure that's like when it came to be, and it was such a huge need for us to have something that we could introduce students, and especially students that might be more medically fragile or just have some more more needs in that way, that they could be introduced to a horse in a super stable, safe way. Yeah, so it was a huge gift to our program.
Really is. And some of the artwork I've seen did that get finished, by the way?
Yeah, so we have this beautiful mural that Anna, I'm blanking on her last name, but she's a wonderful local artist. But we have this beautiful tree in our office. And then I just saw last week, there's apples have appeared on the tree. So yeah, it's this beautiful mural. But the fact that we have, through the generosity of our community in Lake and Mendocino County, that we have this office space is just huge. So if it's raining, we have a place to do activities or to have our meetings. That's a big deal. And then eventually, when we have our hippotherapy program through Adventist Health, when that restarts, they can use that space as well for their physical therapy.
Typical amount of time that one of the children may stay in the program?
It really depends. I've seen students that have, I have known them, and I've been home for 6 years, so they might just stay in their whole span of their of their youth. And then I have students who were in the program as clients, as children, and then are now volunteer, which is great. So when I was a teacher at the high school, I talked some of my students into volunteering and shoveling and mucking stalls and helping out, watering, all of those. We need our volunteers. So whatever our volunteers, like whatever they want to do and whatever skills they have, if that's mucking stalls, if that's sidewalking, helping us with our website, all of those pieces, like we need all of those special talents. So
all those special talents, from technical to manual.
yes.
I've been a horsewoman since I was 2 years old, when my dad first set me on a horse. And then I trained my first horse at 11, but I actually studied natural horsemanship. And my dad told me when we actually raised quarter horses in East Texas. We had a big 10,000 acre ranch, and we had hundreds of horses. And when I asked if I could train this one Palomino, my dad told me, well, she's not trained, but I said, I can learn. So I did. And she stayed with me till she was 28. She was 2 years old when I started with her. But then I went on to do trail riding when I was 16 up in the Rocky Mountains, and I was a trail guide.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I did that for a while, and I loved it. I think that was one of my favorite memories. So now when I go back to Colorado to visit my sister, who's still living in the Aspen Snowmass Village area, I go out with the outfitters as much as possible in the area. They'll take you up to Capitol Peak and Old Snowmass, or up Independence Pass. But to know all of you and Ridgewood Ranch, because my family had that ranch in Texas that they sold. They were looking and bought a little bit of property in Aspen up in Starwood. And then a little girl that I met when I was trying to catch my horse one day. This is up in Starwood, where we used to go vacation. And I think this was in the late 60s. And the parents of this young girl who came out to help me catch my horse were from Belvedere. One was an architect, and he knew about the architecture of Sea Ranch. He talked to my parents about that, but he also told him about a ranch up in Northern California that was next to theirs in Mendocino County. And that was part of the original 16,000 acre ranch that Charles Howard had back in that day of Seabiscuit. So that's when my parents came up in around 1980. They met Aaron's dad, Tracy, and Tracy was part of the Church of the Golden Rule that owns the property, Ridgewood Ranch proper now. There's about 5,000 acres left now, but he helped to coordinate the sale to my parents. And I didn't even get to meet Tracy until years later when it was actually, this is after Laura Hillenbrand came out with her book in 1999. My parents gave us all a book. And then 2003, the movie comes out with Jeff Bridges and Tobey Maguire. And then around 2014, Jacqueline Cooper, who was president of the Seabiscuit Heritage Foundation, saw that I was doing some commercial video production in Mendocino County, all tourism, travel oriented. But she sent me a message on Facebook telling me, would you like to volunteer to film the special event at Ridgewood Ranch? It's about Seabiscuit's barn. And I wrote her back. I said, you won't believe this, but we have the ranch next door. I know about you guys. So that's how this whole documentary started, when I went down there and I saw the history of Seabiscuit. And all these luminaries got up to talk about the history. And I got so engaged. I got to meet the great grandson of Charles Howard, and that's Colonel Mike Howard, who's now executive producer on the documentary. And he's been there supporting you guys all along. His son, Nate, is also special needs. And then he's been in the program as well. But when I was introduced by Jacqueline, while I was down there filming that day, I was introduced to the equine therapy program. She says, you've got to see what these guys are doing with these children. And here we'd had this property for so many years. I did not realize that there was an equine assisted riding therapy program for children and adults down there at the ranch. So I think it was late 2014. So in 2015, I launched Sea Star Studios, and over the years have been gathering as much material as I can on the program, on all of you, on the ranch, and how the hospital got started by Charles Howard. So it's so much rich history that is still ongoing today that a lot of people don't know about, that we're going to help shine a light on. But part of this is the faces of these children and the mothers, the parents who have been through so much with these children, both in the school district and in the writing program, to see their children blossom through this program.
Yeah, and for the parents, it's this beautiful time kind of respite when they bring their kids down, and just as you drive down into the valley of Ridgewood Ranch, like it's like you can feel yourself kind of decompressing.
There's some kind of energy there that is calming about.
Right.
I sense it every time I'm coming down the grade from Willits, and it opens up and there's this magical valley down below. And that is Ridgewood Ranch proper. And then it goes over the mountain and over the ridge where our property starts. And then you see the big Eagle Peak and the mountains beyond. It's a gorgeous piece of property. And there are a lot of people that live there now too.
There are.
That's the way it started out with Charles Howard's day. He'd built several different homes for the people that worked there. And now there's a whole community that lives at Ridgewood. And part of that, well, why don't you describe it? Just some of the different people that are there.
Yeah, and it's even, as I knew it, it was, the church community were kind of the main folks that lived there. And as I understand now, it's really kind of shifted and become a much wider group of people. I think, there's people that are renting, and then there's folks that are part of the kind of the community officially, and then so it really has kind of become a wider group of people. But it's what a beautiful place to live. I'm kind of jealous of of them sometimes. Yeah,
I know Jacqueline and Tim Cooper live there right across from the stud barn of Seabiscuit. And there's a school on the property.
Yeah, we have a Levita charter school.
And there's also the RV park, part of the Church of the Golden Rule. They have their own home area there for modular or mobile homes. And then there's an actual RV park for travelers. And then there's the garden program that Ellen Bartholomew is part of. And she's also with the Seabiscuit Therapeutic writing program. She's been there for so long too. She watched you guys grow up.
I know. She was like one of our, just Tracy and Ellen and Kathy, they're all of our kind of bonus parents. And they were, the huge muscle behind that dream Erin had. And just how gracious the whole Church of the Golden Rule was in terms of helping support this program being developed. And then Willits Rotary, or the Willits Rotary project was a huge, and still is a huge piece of supporting us.
Yeah, and the other person, young man, and it's Ellen's son, Cody.
Oh, Cody Bartholomew.
Yeah, he's really growing up and taking charge on a few things too.
Yeah, it's neat because, we all grew up together as kids, and to see, each other as adults and kind of finding our own niche in life, and seeing the beautiful service that everyone is giving to their community. And that's, that was modeled for us growing up. And I remember, I was so excited to leave and to move to the big East Coast and to live in these big cities, living in Washington, D.C. But, once I hit my 30s, I was like, I really miss being part of a community that really cares. And it's not to say that the communities I was a part of back East didn't care, but it just, I think there's something special about Lake and Mendocino County and the way we show up for each other. It's just really beautiful.
It's a strong fabric, and it's brought even stronger, or made even stronger through adversity too, when there are fires or floods. And a fire did come across during 2017 and hit Ridgewood Ranch. It hit our property too, but it went all the way down to Santa Rosa. That was a Tubbs fire too, I think it was.
Mhm.
Same time.
Yeah, I mean, it
That's
was
got more recognition than Mendocino did.
right. It was so, I mean, I had just moved back, and we had fires growing up, but just the level of fires we had,
Way different.
it was just, it was really scary. But just seeing the way the community came together and really showed support and held people, and then our Seabiscuit like took in horses, and just during that time, that's how Muffin came to be with us.
Right. And
Right.
is it Cowboy 911 that is present throughout Northern California? They must have, you may have coordinated with them or not, but
Yeah.
they were always looking for places where horses and animals could go reside and recuperate.
Right. Yeah. And then now Erin she's involved with a fawn rescue project.
That's right. I heard her last time. Tell a little bit about that and about what's happening there today at Ridgewood.
Yeah, so there's a fawn rescue kind of in our area, and so Ridgewood Ranch has been really gracious about kind of offering their space to provide this. And then Erin, of course, being the animal lover that she is, on her spare time, she just feeds the little fawns and it gets them ready to release. So that's a really beautiful piece too. And so it's and then
birds.
The other day I went down there. We had a field trip. Some of our students from Ukiah High School went down to Seabiscuit, both to there's a separate field trip to the gardens, to kind of learn about that sustainable gardening program. And then they came to Seabiscuit, and I ran away from my office for a little bit just to greet everyone. And Erin had kittens in her office. So there were some kittens that someone had taken to the dumps, and and so someone had heard about it and found them. And then of course Erin, being Erin, is nursing the kittens too. So we have fawns, we have kittens, we
have a little of everything.
Yes.
That's the nurturing environment that these children are in, around the people that you have who are working. How many people are working there at the equine therapy writing program? This is called the Seabiscuit Therapeutic Writing Center on Ridgewood Ranch. And this is the co-president, Lydia Colvig, that you're hearing right now. We've got a few more minutes, so I'm going to leave it up to you, Lydia, to talk about what you have going on now and anything else you'd like to tell us about the Unified District of Ukiah School District 2.
Sure. We have two employees, and then we have dozens of volunteers that we really rely on.
And coordination is a big deal.
Yeah. And, that's how we provide lessons is having volunteers, having sidewalkers, having folks come down and muck stalls, all of those pieces. We have some folks that helped us set up a website. And so all of those pieces are so essential for us. We're just really lucky to have so many people that care. I think, some folks retire and miss kind of a routine, and so and want some meaning and really are drawn to the program. And so we have all these amazing retirees that volunteer for us a few times a week, and that helps us keep the program going. And we're always looking for more volunteers. So if you're interested in volunteering, don't worry about, it's not a barrier if you're not familiar with horses or not super, just like me, you can still volunteer with the horses. And I love to volunteer on Sundays is one of my favorite days. And I might do sidewalking, I might be leading the horse, or sometimes I might be mucking stalls with some of the other volunteers. So it's kind of all hands on deck. Whatever gift and skill that you can bring to the program, we would love to have you.
And I know that some people who just want to get their horse fix too, and not because they don't have a horse, they don't have the money to afford a horse, they can at least get their horse fix.
Yes. And if you're having a hard time and you need a hug, Muffin, our donkey, is like so lovely. He's such an empathetic creature, and he'll just give you a hug. He'll wrap his head around you, and yeah, he's the best. So, and we had a field trip down there, and we had some students that they really struggle with their mental health and just self-regulation, and just seeing how they warmed up with the animals and how the animals responded to them was really beautiful.
Right. Self-regulation. That's something topic that another film shoot that we did was in Denver, Colorado, with Robin Gabriel's psychologist, psychotherapist, psychiatrist who has been studying autism for over a decade. And specifically now she got a grant to study the effects of equine therapy on autistic children. So she's talking about that self-regulation as being the key where this kind of program is beneficial.
Yeah.
It's a positive transformation. They get they get more courage.
They grow in confidence. Their communication, you see all of this growth. And so, the program, we focus so much on their abilities. We're not just focused on what the deficits are, and we're not looking at just compliance, right? So it's looking at how to engage the student where they are, and to, have a vision for the future moving forward. So
you bridge the gap too over on the other side with a unified school district in Ukiah. The other half of their lives that's spent in school and the things that are challenging for them or what they have to balance in their lives. And also Erin was trained by Path International.
Yeah, Erin is just so skilled.
Yes.
That we're lucky to have her.
Trains the trainers, that they will help train the trainers in working with special needs children and their families and special needs adults. So it's also a program that is trying to incorporate again some military vets, I understand.
Yes. Yeah. Just, coming back from the war and having, post-traumatic stress disorder, or having people that have gone through trauma. We know that horses, are a really beautiful place to help with that trauma.
It definitely is. And there's quite a significant amount of documentaries and other news about that people can find online. There's places all over the world that people can tap into. Lydia, why don't you tell us your title again and your focus there at the school district?
Sure. Yeah. So I am the director of special education for Ukiah Unified. And we have about a little over 850 students that receive services through special education in Ukiah. And so we have a big group of related service providers, of speech pathologists. We have 2 coordinators that work one is more in the elementary and preschool, one is in the middle high school adult. We have a data technician, we have a family liaison who works really hard with our Spanish speaking community. So we have a big department, and I am just really proud to show up and serve with everyone daily. We have a lot of big hearts that really care and want to see growth. So
big hearts that care and want to see growth. And how can people get in touch with you, by the way?
You can go on the website and you can find me that way, or you can just call the school district office. And we're here. My door is always open. And so we're happy to meet you wherever you are, if that's a phone call, if that's Zoom, if that's in person,
And that's Lydia Center Colvig, a center with an S. And
Center with an S.
Right. And thank you so much for coming on the show today.
Thank you so much for having me. It was wonderful.
And the last time I saw you was right here in Wallala at Cove Azul. We had lunch.
Yes. And we fell in love with your area, so we will be back.
We'd love to have you back. Well, all right. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Take care. And I'm going to say goodbye to all of our YouTube watchers right now too, because we're going to transition in